right, perfect. So, Tim, welcome to the show. It is super cool to have you here. How are you today?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing great today.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, let's dig in straight into the interview now, and tell me, where does this passion for acting started?
It kind of all started when I was a kid. I mean, I've
Mm.
always been that kid that always did something to make you laugh. Where like I watched Ace Ventura, I was like, oh, I'm gonna talk with my butt, and it's gonna make people laugh. And I mean, from third grade is my earliest memory of just kind of getting in trouble for being a loudmouth in class.
Mm.
And then my parents knew it was just downhill from there. So I mean, it's just the art of making people laugh because not enough people laugh nowadays, and it's sad. So
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's true. Especially right now with the whole how crazy things are recently. Yeah.
oh geez, like I literally turned the news on, and after 2 minutes, I went, nope, back to Netflix.
Yeah, same
Like
thing here. Yeah, same thing
it's
here.
just that no one does any happy stories anymore. It's all scare tactics and just you know no good stories are actually getting out there.
Yeah, I can understand it. Yeah, like where I live here in Mexico, when I turn the news on, yeah, it's always someone got killed, couple people got killed, someone got kidnapped,
Jeez.
someone got missing, things like that. And yeah, I just got to a point in which I'm like, nah, I'm just turning it off, like do something else because yeah,
It affects you whether you believe it or not. Like you watching that 24/7 because they're on a cycle. So every 20 minutes they're re-spewing the same stuff. So you're hearing the same stuff. So I see why people get mad watching the news. I just prefer not to watch it.
yeah, same thing here. Same thing here. Absolutely, absolutely. And tell me, like, was it something else you wanted to do back when you were little, or was it always towards the whole arts and everything?
Actually, when I was younger, I wanted to be a professional athlete. I remember my teacher, Mr. Baker, when we were in like third or fourth grade, we had to write a letter to ourselves. And when we graduated, we got those letters because he put them in like a time capsule. So it was like a cool thing that this teacher did for us. And I remember we had to draw a picture of what we saw ourselves looking like. And the funniest thing was I had a football helmet with like a dangly earring and a diamond stud because it was against the rules of my house to have your ears pierced as a guy. And professional football player was what I wanted to do. And then I realized that I'm not tall enough for football. So I started playing rugby. And I played rugby all throughout high school. I played in college, and then I played a little semi-pro before I got hit by a drunk driver and had to change careers.
Yeah. Okay. I can understand that. I can
The
understand.
universe has a real weird way of telling you that you're doing the wrong thing in life.
Yeah.
You could have just given me a sign on a billboard. No, you had to have a drunk driver hit me to realize I need to be a comedian. So
Yeah. Back in high school, I wanted to become a pro basketball player.
oh nice.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't tall enough, but I was, I was quick. I was quick, so I was moving and everything. So
Yeah.
that was like my goal. But then one day, in PT class back in high school, in order for me to impress a girl, I was like, I'm just gonna try to make this crazy dunk. Of course, it didn't happen.
It's
So
always because of a girl.
on my head was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, and whatever. So I did try it. Of course, I didn't do it. And when I land. So my foot got all crushed.
Oh.
And due to that, I did recover. But after that, they told me, like, you know what, you still can play basketball, but you need to not. I mean, basically, what the doctor told me is like, you can play basketball, but your career is gonna be done super quick because you're, like all that constant jumping. Your
Yeah.
ankle is not gonna be able to hold it out. So I switched to football or soccer, and I stayed there. And when I switched, I was like, I don't want to do pro stuff. I just want to play and have fun. So
Yeah. Well, see, like that was the same with me. Like I was playing rugby, I loved it, and then I get hit by a drunk driver, and I broke my back. I blew up my left shoulder, cracked my skull, and every doctor was like, "Look, if you play rugby again and you take the wrong hit, you're gonna be paralyzed the rest of your life." And I was like,
Jesus. Yeah.
"I love this sport, but I don't love it enough to be in a wheelchair." You know what I mean? And it was a crush, but I still love watching it. I mean, I played football in high school, but rugby was where my heart was. It was the most camaraderie type. Like you could hate the other team on the field, but afterwards you're drinking buddies. So it was completely different from football, where it's like we hate our rivals all the time. Where in rugby, it's like we hate each other in the field, but we got a keg of beer afterwards, so let's go party. So like that's what I loved about rugby. It was just so interconnected, and blood brotherhood is what they call it, because you shed a lot of it on that field. But it's also, it teaches you respect,
Mm.
and it's something different from everything else, and that's what I loved
Yeah,
about it.
I love it. I love it. So, I mean, it's really cool. It's really cool whenever you get like those experiences. And as you mentioned, I mean, sometimes life will show you that that was not the way. You're made to do something else, which sometimes it can be rough, or sometimes it can be just a quick thing and move on. But yeah,
I feel like everybody has that feeling where they're like, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing in life. It's just they don't know if they should take that leap.
mm,
Like I had a person said, they're like, oh, I'm an accountant, but I love to paint. And I was like, so why don't you become a painter? And they're like, well, that's scary. And I went, but that's exciting because you're finally doing the
totally.
thing that you are meant to do. If you love accounting, do it by all means. But if you don't love what you do, there's no point in doing it.
There you go.
No
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
No
yeah,
point.
yeah. I got the same conversation with an ex co-worker as I was walking out the building. He was telling me like, dude, I love your podcast. It's really cool. I wish I can make one. And then I remember that I stopped by and I was like, and what you do it? Well, because I don't have like experience. And I was like, do you think that I have experience? I don't have experience. I mean, I just gotta have a mic and speak to people, and that's it. I mean, I didn't study for any of this. It just make it happen. You do
Yeah,
the
it's
same
very
thing.
easy. Yeah,
Yeah,
you just
just
talk to people and not at them, and then you have a conversation.
you're good to go. And then he was like, yeah, but I'm not sure. And I was like, dude, it's easy. I mean, just do it. Just try. I mean, along the way, you can discover like what kind of content you will be able to create. But just go ahead and do it, because then one day, one day you're gonna be like 50, 60, and then you're gonna miss like a lot of like, why I didn't do this instead of that. Why didn't you just take the risk? What else? I
There
mean,
was, I remember reading somewhere it was like every man on his deathbed never regret the stuff he did, but he regretted the stuff he didn't do.
totally.
And I mean, that's, you have to take a chance. And what better way to bet on yourself, because you can't fail.
Yeah.
Like,
But yeah, totally. I mean, if you don't do it, you already have the worst outcome, which is nothing. So why don't take the risk?
and I think a lot of people they tend to see this different aspect of it. Like being a stand-up comic, like I get people all the time, they're like, oh, I'd love to be a comic, but I don't think I'm funny. And I'm like, well, that's where you're wrong. Because if you laugh, other people will laugh. You tell jokes that make you laugh, and other people will laugh. That was how Eddie Murphy got into it. He got into telling jokes to make himself laugh, and he goes, turns out other people thought I was funny. You can't tell jokes to appease people. You have to tell things that make you laugh, and that's how you will grow with people, because people will identify with you. And it's funny when I have these conversations with like younger kids, like, oh, I want to be a comic. I'm like, why do you hate yourself? Because we're the jesters of the world. When the plague happened, I got sick of so many people being mad. And being a stand-up comic, they said we weren't allowed to perform till like 2024, and I was like, dude, the world is my stage, and I'm gonna go act on it. And then I literally ride a skateboard wearing this to make people laugh, and it has just changed everything. Like, I used to thought before I could only do it on stage or this or that, and I tell people, I was like, make people laugh as you go along on the road, because then you can see what's funny and what's not, but then also you're making the average day person's day better.
Mm.
It's just you have to try something, and if you don't try, you can't complain.
Absolutely. Yeah, but and yet again, I mean, once you're older, don't hate your life because it's the path you chose for not taking that risk.
Exactly. We only have one life on this planet. Just live it. Just have fun. Don't be scared if someone's gonna think, oh, it's weird or it's creepy. Who cares? I dress up as a Star Wars character and I skateboard around and make people laugh. That's about as weird as you can get. But I mean, it makes me happy, because when I see people, or when I leave people after talking to them dressed up, and I dress all the way. Grogu sits on my chest, like to the nines. Like, kids look at me like, did you just walk off the movie set? I'm like, no, I wish I was that good. But it's just the look on people's faces that are so happy, because happiness spreads just as much as hate. And you'll see these people, and it's amazing what it does. And it's a simple gesture of just acting like an idiot that makes me laugh. It's fun for me. So my verbal diarrhea will get away from me. I'm sorry.
No, I love it. I mean, I love it. I love that. But tell me, like how you prepare let's say, let's say a character, like how you prepare it. I mean, I understand that usually depends on the role, but like, what are the first the first steps, or like how you approach for you to start this process?
So like usually, if people don't know, like as you audition, they'll audition you because there's something about you that relates to that character, whether you look like them, whether you act like them. Either one of those two are the big ones that draw you in for that character. So I need to bring a little bit of myself to this character to kind of bring it into me, if you will. But I love that process because most of the times, like I had auditioned for, it was supposed to be the Jason remake. I think I could talk about this now. I never signed any NDAs, but it was like I was gonna play the Camp Stifler, like Stifler of the campground from American Pie. I was like, well, that's not typecasting, is it? Because I was real quick with my jokes. Because in the audition, I'm supposed to have this monologue, and I'm leaning on my buddy, and this hot girl walks by, and I'm talking to him about how to pick up girls. And this girl walks by. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go get her number. And I looked at the director. I was like, can I make that a little more vulgar, just funny vulgar? And he goes, all right. So I'm literally leaning on. By the way, am I allowed to swear if I don't say anything? Okay, perfect. So like I was leaning on him, and I did my whole monologue, and some girl goes walking by, and I go, God damn it, I want to fuck her face. And I walked off, and the director lost his shit laughing. He goes, that's the kind of humor I want you to bring to this character. I was like, well, that's me. So it's not just about portraying a character that you idolize or that you've had research with. It's about connecting with them on why you're so intrigued to them, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? So you have to bring a little something, a little spark of like Timmy to that character for it to be believable for the audience, because otherwise you're just a parrot regurgitating lines, and there's no passion in that, and I don't like that.
So. Absolutely. That's so cool. Okay. And let's say that one day I call you and I tell you that I want to become either an actor or a stand-up comedian. Tell me, what advice could you give to someone who doesn't have any experience at all, who wants to start this journey?
Start that journey with being able to not give a shit what people think of you. The moment you start to criticize yourself on what other people say, you're out of the game. You put yourself out of the game. In order to be in this business, you have to believe in yourself 1,000%. Like, if you ever watched the show Entourage, it's about Vinny Chase. It's like a guy growing up in Hollywood, and he's got his boys with him, and he's got this agent named Ari Gold. And Ari Gold's this like shooting from the hip, loudmouth, vulgar, but you see that he believes in his client almost as much as he believes in himself. And that's how you have to be in this business. You have to believe that at the end of the day, you can get the job done. Not about all the press and worry about that. It's about making that character believable, but also bringing that spark of yourself and just realizing that you can do it, but you have to give it 1,000%, or else there's no reason to do it.
There you go. Okay. Now, what has been your funniest or worst audition you ever had?
Okay, so I was reading this question. I was like, oh, I can't wait for this one. So I used to be a stripper.
That's cool.
I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio, and I used to work for the Cleveland Men of Steel. I was Bad Boy Blake. I was the cop. When like Magic Mike and all that came out, but pretense to that. Fast forward to now, I had an audition where like they're looking at my resume and they're like, oh, dance, like ballerina. I was like, a little more exotic than that. And they started laughing because it was for a commercial where I had to be a construction worker and I had to strip on a pole. I was like, well, fun fact, there aren't any poles in guy strip clubs because we don't really do that. I was like, but let's have some fun with it. And we go in there and there's just this little pole and this little base. And I'm like, I can't spin around this thing like they want me to.
Yeah.
And I see this monstrous guy go in, like it was supposed to be a big burly construction worker, and he goes in and he looked like Shrek. Okay, he is spinning around that pole and it's not moving. I was like, oh, we're sold. I go in, they play 50 Cent Candy Shop, and I just went off. Like I had the helmet come down, threw it at her, and I have never seen casting directors get red in the face before. And they were like, when we saw your resume and saw dance, we didn't think you were actually a stripper. And they're like, I don't know what I'm like, just say stripper. It's okay. I'm from the Midwest. We don't care. Like
Yeah.
you say it like how you see it. And I had them beat face red, like they were just older, like plain shirt, little cross, like you could tell they were just good people. And I just went balls to the wall. And thank God I was wearing underwear because I started taking clothes off, and they were like, "We're good, you got it, you're good, you're good." But that was one of the funniest.
Yeah.
I have had an audition where like it was scary in the sense that like I didn't know who it was for, but all I knew is that when I opened up my email, it said, "You have an audition. Here are your sides. After you open your sides, which is what you're memorizing to audition for the character,
Yeah.
they're like, once you look at this, you have 24 hours to memorize it before it disappears." And I went, "Who am I auditioning for? Like the CIA? Like what is this?" Turns out it was for Disney, and like it's kind of scary because like you'll go into a room and they ask you for every social media, your Instagram, your Twitter, your Snapchat, and they will monitor you if you're under like consideration for the role. They'll make sure that you don't message this to anybody, and like you sign an NDA when you get in there, and then you're not even told the project because most of them have like I can say this one. This wasn't what I auditioned for, but when Boba Fett the show was coming out, it was codenamed the Buccaneer. So like when you were auditioning for it, you got to audition for the Buccaneer, and you're like, "What are we, swash pirates? What's going on here?" And you find out it's actually Boba Fett. So like that was the scariest one. Where like my butthole puckered that entire time I was in there. I was like, "Oh God, what am I going to get myself into here?" And it was. But once I saw the people in there, everything melts away from me. Like you put me in a room with nobody in there, I'll go insane. You put me in a room full of people, I'll have them pissing their pants laughing by the time I leave.
Mm.
Like that's where I shine. And with acting, that's how you have to be. You have to be memorable, but not bad memorable. Like I tell, like I have a couple of people that come out from Ohio that are pursuing acting. I was like, look, when you do these networking parties, you don't want to be that drunk at the party until you become that drunk. And I was like, do you understand what I'm saying here? And I'm like, you can have fun, but just make it professional.
Yeah.
Don't be sloppy. Don't be, we all have our moments, give and take, but
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Those are the two funniest and scariest that I've ever been on. Because I'm also like, oh, geez, just about me for this. Oh. And it was just, the other guys in the room were literally shaking because they were a couple newer guys too. And I was like, you guys know what we're auditioning for here? And they're like, we have no idea. We've been trying to figure that out for an hour. So it's fun because it's exciting. It brings a different aspect to life when you're behind the scenes too. So
that's so crazy. So basically that time you were waiting for the red dot in your head or something like that. Like, okay, something's happening.
Like when they take your phone, they take your social media, it's something big. So you better bring your A game. So
yeah, absolutely. That's so cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Now let's say one day Netflix, HBO Max, Disney Plus, they want to make a film, right? And they go to you and they tell you, so we got this idea for a film in which basically goes, all of the characters you have played at the moment will gather to celebrate your birthday. Tell me, what will be the name of the film?
What would be the name of them, or what would be the name of the movie?
The name of the film, of the movie.
Oh, let's see. If it were to celebrate my birthday, you can call it A Man-Child's Guide to Adult's Birthday. Because it's exactly what would happen. It would be a comedy. I would have inflatable houses. Like, I'm 38 years old and I still go inflatable houses and play with like my nephews and my nieces, like bounce them around inside because I'm just a big kid. So it would probably be like Diary of a Man-Child's Adult Birthday.
Cool. Okay.
Not a very catchy title, but it gets you to the point.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what about describing your whole career on a drink?
Ooh. We have a drink back in Ohio called the kitchen sink, and it's literally you pour 1 ounce of every liquor you can find and you splash it with the Coke on top. It's kind of like our Long Island, but we just call it the kitchen sink.
Okay, and how would you call it?
It's terrible.
Yeah, I bet.
How would I just call it the kitchen sink. That's all. That would be my career in one go. I've had so many jobs. My first job, I worked at Annie Ann's Pretzels. I sold pretzels as a kid. I've done mortgages. I've been a personal trainer. I've been a stripper. I've worked at a game. Like I've had so many jobs where I'm just like, this isn't what I'm happy with. This is not what I'm supposed to do. And I finally found it. But you know, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. So
Yeah, absolutely. That's so cool. Wow. And like my last question here, like what motivates you? You know, we all have those days that we just want to quit. And it's so interesting because sometimes things might be okay, you know, nothing bad is happening, but suddenly we got into this feeling that we should quit, that we're not worth it, you know, like all of those toxic thoughts. So my question is here is like, what gets you out of those so you can continue on this journey that you have been creating for so many years now?
I have too many motherfuckers to prove wrong. So many people in my life told me that you're never going to amount to anything. You're not going to be anything. And that is my personal goal because I know deep down I'm meant to do something in this world. Who knows exactly what that is? Maybe it's a motivational speaker in the long run, but that's prepped me because I've been doing my stand-up comedy. So I know my stage presence. So everything in your life is always building towards something. And if I say anything, as long as I find that before I kick the bucket, I can leave this world a happy man.
Preach.
You know?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's true.
That should be the goal of everybody, that when you depart this world, you're okay with it and you're just deuces, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The other day I was checking this interview, and they were saying that by the end of your life, the idea here is that like what are the things that you can leave, you know, like what are the things that you can pass on to later on, you know? So
yeah. There was the Shia LaBeouf film. I think it's Honey. It was a story about Shia LaBeouf's life, and there's a kid who has Down syndrome, and they're in the lake, and it starts to pull him. And there's that quote where he's like, "Am I gonna die?" And he's like, "Of course you're gonna die. Everyone's gonna die." He's like, "Just depends on how many people have great stories to tell when you're dead. Now, don't be a bitch. Come on, let's go." Like that's what I want to be when I pass. Be like, dude, there was this guy Tim who used to dress up as the Mandalorian and ride an electric skateboard around just to make people laugh, and it blows people's minds. That's all I want to continue in this world, to show that we're meant to help each other. We are built to help each other. All humans. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, purple, or green. We are built to help each other.
Absolutely.
And I'm sick of people forgetting that, because how can you progress forward in life without knowing where you come from?
Absolutely.
And that's what motivates me every day.
That's amazing, man. I mean, what can I say? I love it. And also the fact that you know that you want to make people have a good time, you know, make have a laugh. And as we were like speaking before, like on how crazy times right now, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. The fact that they can rely on you, but also that you're that spark will be like, okay, things might be fucked up, but here I am changing things here, so we all can have a laugh and have a good time. So,
you know, it's also ultimately it's how I deal with my depression on a day-to-day basis, because you know, people who are depressed with me, I constantly always feel like alone. But when I'm making people laugh, I was like, wow, I was meant to be here today because I needed to pull that person out of their bad day. So that's also, you know, my little medicine that helps me. Because like I tried doing therapy, and that just made me realize I'm way more screwed up than I am. And then I tried medication, and that just took away that special spark that was me. And then I remember I just went on stage and a random like walk up, perform on stage, and I did like 10 minutes, and I had a guy laughing. He sounded like the Affleck duck, just and I was just like, Jesus Christ, am I in a fantasy world? Is that Howard the Duck? What's going on? And I got picked up from there because a bigger comic was like, how long have you been doing this? I'm like, technically my whole life, but 27 minutes as of right now. And he goes, you just have this weird. I was like, then it's what I'm meant to do in this world. Let's go. And then I performed at the Comedy Store, and that was like going from JV football to the NFL. Like I had no idea what I was in for, but it was a fun ride. It's been a fun ride. So
that's amazing, man. I mean, keep doing what you do. It's epic. I love it. I love it all the way here because, as I said here, I mean, you are making people laugh. You're inspiring. You're making having a good time. That is really cool, man. I mean, I'm super sure that our next conversation might be. I mean, who knows? Maybe you will get at some point your own action figure. That would be cool.
I have an action figure.
You're kidding?
I have an action figure. No. Give me 2 seconds. I'll run and grab it.
Take your time. Sure.
Where did I put them? Here we go. So a buddy of mine, hold on, I'll just come back in there. So a buddy of mine, his name is Daniel Lowe. He's on Instagram as Blue Box Designs. He designs these, and he saw my story, and we've had a correspondence going back and forth. Excuse me, because his son ended up getting leukemia, and he was going through cancer treatments, and I was like, I'm gonna print him his own helmet so that he becomes my own foundling. So I made him. He loved the Moon Knight show, so I made the Moon Knight Mandalorian mix together, and I sent him the helmet. But here is my the action figure that he made for me. So that's the guy. He's got a little skateboard that comes with him.
Okay.
But then here's my card back. Like, no kidding. It tells my story on the back. It's so hysterical. Cool. It's hysterical. Like, I think I have the other one right here. Yep, here's the other one. So this is the first one that came out, the first edition. And the best is at the bottom. It says, Timmy's a professional idiot. Do not attempt this at home.
That's so cool.
And then it's got a bigger story on the back. Oh, it's backwards because I got my front-facing camera. I'm sorry.
No,
I'll have to, let me switch that. Can I switch that around? I don't know how to switch it around. There we go. So we got this one.
Yeah. Which
is what this guy comes in. And then he's got a little skateboard that comes with him, and then on the back it's got a little story that he told for me.
That's so cool.
Like, this is my childhood dream right here, is that I'm an action figure. Like, it is ridiculous. And it's all because I just want to make people laugh, you know?
That's epic. I mean, you're made.
It's made, you know?
Yeah. I mean, the sky is the limit right here.
The next is that, like, I get one made because Disney put me in a movie because I'm a Mandalorian. That would be my next goal is as an action figure.
Absolutely. That would be cool. I mean, wow, man. It's amazing. I love it. I also want to thank those who watch this episode. Make sure to go follow Tim like right now. I mean, let's make him viral. # Team Tim. He's amazing.
Yeah. TikTok's easy. It's just Mando the Man-Child. And then my name on Instagram.
There you go. I'm gonna leave in the description below his socials so you can go mint the videos over. Cool. So go check him out.
Follow right here.
There you go.
Here comes the titles.
Yeah. Or if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcast, it's gonna be also in the description. So just take a look here.
Perfect.
And again, Tim, thank you so much, man. Have an incredible rest of the evening and keep rocking, keep inspiring because it's amazing what you do. I love it.
You too, brother. I appreciate you having me.
All right.